Welcome, everyone, to Two Off the Tee Fantasy Six Packs Golf and Betting Show. I am your host, Keith Flemming, joined as always. I don't know if I could say good buddy, Ryan, with you wearing that ugly Auburn shirt, but
Come
by my
on,
good
they
buddy,
lost in their
Ryan Mulvey.
quarterfinal match today. I was trying to hope they would win back to back, but I had the Auburn director of their sports network on today, so I had to represent Auburn.
Humble brag. But Ryan Mulvey, host of ESPN's Northwest Florida Inside Drive. You can check that out Monday through Friday, 11 to 1 p.m. That is Central Standard Time. Look at me, Ryan. And we're very excited.
Right in front of my eyes. Right in front of my eyes.
You know, I try to improve a little bit. But we are very excited to have, I know, somebody that I've been following for a long time in this space, Joe Adoni. Is that right? Adoni?
Nailed it, Keith.
God. I am on fire, Ryan, with these names. I'm sure you know of this podcast, Preferred Lines. You still do some writing too for Roto World, right? PGA?
Yeah, I do for RotoBaller. So I have a couple of pieces that I do there. 3 or 4 pieces a week, typically. Some of them on their sub paywall side, and then a couple of them just out for free. I have a power rankings piece that I do basically Sunday night every week to kind of hopefully be one of the first stops I like people to kind of check out when they're getting prepared for a new tournament. And that's completely free. So I put that out every week, usually Sunday or early Monday morning. Every week they have an event.
Well, I highly recommend everybody checking that out. If you're not already subscribing to the Preferred Lines podcast, you should. It's good stuff. I want to talk a little Scheffler before we get into one of the best events of the year. That's a non-major, the Memorial, Jack's Place. But real quickly before we do Scheffler, Joe, what has destroyed betting odds? Because just 2 years ago, golf was the sport. And I used to argue this with people that didn't watch golf. You could really do well because the odds were just amazing. And now you got guys at 30 to 1 that have never won an event. Like, what happened? Do you think it was like DK FanDuel? Do you think it was a combination of things? What caused our odds to get so crappy?
Yeah, I think so you're right. I think when I first started betting golf heavily, I would say between like 2015 and 2000. In 2020, excuse me. I was like you. I love to kind of do most of my hunting in the 30 to 40 to 1 range because you had name brand value. You had guys that would knock off 1 to 2 wins a year and you could catch them at decent odds. And it didn't feel like they had so much of a gap between them and the 2 or 3 guys who have kind of always been the top. I think there's a lot of factors at play here. I think you've got a couple of guys, particularly Scottie Scheffler, who's on an unprecedented level, and I'm sure we'll get more into that in a little bit. You have a lack of maybe depth at the PGA Tour, just kind of in that like tier B range, I would say. And maybe some of that has to do with, you had some names go to live, which siphoned a little bit of the value out of that range. And lately it feels like the way to kind of play it is either take your choice up top and stake everything and put your chips in on one of the big dogs, or instead of trying to eat in that 30 to 40 to 1 range, you kind of look toward the bigger long shots, 80 to 1, 100 to 1, because there is still value in there in golf, which is unlike any other sport, right? We were just talking about the NBA playoffs. You're not going to find an 80 or 100 to 1 in the NBA playoffs unless you got a big 4-legger going, which are tough to hit. But typically you're not going to pick a winner, right, to odds to win the NBA championship at 80 to 100 to 1 or the NFL. So it does make golf unique. That all said, everything kind of works in cycles in the world of professional golf from what I've seen in my experience betting it. And I have a feeling things will tend to come back around and we start to get some more value kind of right around that 30 to 1 range. And, usually it comes back.
Nico has made his appearance on the podcast. Joe, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. It's just we're in this part of the cycle of sports betting and golf specifically where, you had a lot of these guys pulled out into live And we're getting real top heavy again with really just a few guys. I mean, we've seen it the last 2 weeks with or even the last 3 weeks, really, with the odds is, especially at the PGA. Keith and I talked about that. You had like maybe 20 guys that could legitimately win the tournament, and then everybody else was just probably not having a shot simply because how they're making these golf courses nowadays. But certainly makes it interesting when it comes to trying to figure out. And I've kind of walked away from the winner side a little bit and been trying to live in the top 5, top 10, top 20 more so than the winner side of things, just because unless you can hit, like last week, if you went all in on Scheffler, and obviously he didn't win the tournament because, he's unbelievable, but you're not going to win every tournament you play, and it's just the nature of the sport. You might have lost a lot of money versus trying to find some more of that value in the props. I don't know. It's a wild time for sports betting right now, and it's a wild time in this NBA playoff game as well. Not even the second or first half over yet. 64-63 Knicks, but it's about to be tied.
Defense optional.
Optional.
Yeah.
Optional.
I completely agree, especially with the prop bets. That's something I'm leaning more into. And also just the other great thing about golf is, like I got hot earlier this year. If you can get 3-4 winners, especially when it's like somebody like Brian Harmon, that has longer odds, you can eat off that for a long time. So that's the great part about it. But I do, before we get into Memorial, I really try to pause on, saying this guy is the next guy, right? And I apologize, as you can hear, Nico is not having it at this moment. My Yorkie, who is 7 pounds, but we saw this with Spieth to a certain extent with Rory. Like these guys, even Koepka, for a minute, had that, moniker of the next guy. And it's always hard to follow, the footsteps of Tiger Woods. We saw this with Jordan in the NBA for years, where guys continued to be, the next guy, and you just can't live up to that. He's like the GOAT, right? And Tiger, in my opinion, is the GOAT as well. But I feel like Scheffler is different. Obviously everybody was touting, and rightfully so, only the third player with Jack and Tiger Woods. That's the list you want to be on, with 15 wins, 3 majors before their 29th birthday. But Joe, do you think that, like, what is your expectations at this point for his ceiling? Let's go there. Like, where do you think he can get potentially?
Wow. Where do I think he can get? I think he can get to 10 plus majors. Will he? I don't know. I'm more of a skepticist when it comes to these things. If I had to set a betting line, I'd probably put it somewhere around 7.5, and would love to take action on the over, but I think it's fully within the realm of possibilities. You mentioned some names there that have been number 1 in the world for extended periods of time. Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Jason Day. Scheffler's a lot better than any of them, in my opinion. If you just look from a sheer data standpoint, and strokes gain data, he blows them all out of the water. He's actually been a little bit better in some categories this year than he was last year within his historic season. The best, year and a half run since Tiger Woods. Now, I think the one exception that comes between Tiger and Scheffler, and the anomaly, is Rory. So I think Scheffler's on a better run right now than Rory was ever on. Just the ability to win and knock off signature events, the ability to win, regular events, Valero Texas Opens, the ability to just show up places and dominate, I don't think is something that Rory ever quite had in the tank. What makes Rory different than even Tiger is just the longevity of how long he's been a top 3 player in the world. Every player kind of goes through these peaks and valleys, and Rory has sustained essentially being a top 5 player.
He's still so young, too. I always forget he's still in his mid-30s. It feels like Rory's been out there for.
But he's done it for 12 to 15 years. He's been a top 5 player on earth. So it's just the longevity of Rory. But look, it's hard. I don't want to, be a prisoner of the moment and start immediately comparing him to Tiger after a good 2-year stretch. But he's 28. He's got a lot of majors in the bag. No, I think the next two are the toughest two for him to get, for the record. I think he will ultimately do it because he's that much better than everyone else. But the unpredictability, and like Scottie Scheffler even said it with the mud balls, right? Sorry if I'm rambling here a little bit, but he talked about it
No,
at
I
the
can
PGA
talk about this all
Championship
day.
about
Go right ahead.
I'm used to the
anything that
rambling, so you're good.
okay, any shot that he hits, he's practiced over and over again with an expected outcome of where it's going to go. That's why a little bit of mud on the ball drove him crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch him, and I've watched him on the driving range at the Players Championship and other events with all the top players in the world, and he is meticulous. Every time checking he won't even swing a golf club before he spends 10 seconds getting his grip perfectly right. It's like I have never seen another player act. So everything has to be predictable for him. The Masters is very predictable for him.
Right.
PGA Championships are very predictable. The nature of like something like Pinehurst that drove him crazy last year.
Yeah,
You
I
had
forgot about
patches
that.
of wiregrass, and 1 inch this way or 1 inch that way could be the difference between having to chip out sideways and a perfectly clean lie. A lot of that happens with the Open Championship. You get weird weather waves. You get stuck in a pot bunker. These unpredictable variances drive him a little bit crazy and are kind of his kryptonite at this point. I still think he's good enough to overcome that over the long haul of his career.
Do you think that majors, because like I've said for quite some time, and it comes across bad because I'm one of the biggest Tiger marks of all time, but I truly believe Tiger's 15 is greater than Jack's 18 because just how much deeper fields get. And again, this is no disrespect to Jack. Jack has the 18 majors. Nobody can ever take that away from him. But I mean, we were talking about the other day, Scheffler might be the last guy ever to win 30 events. I mean, it's just become so hard to win on the PGA Tour that I would like be okay saying if Scheffler got to 10 in this era, I think that's more impressive than 15 because it's just so hard to do it. We've seen it with Rory. You talked about he's the most consistent guy, right? And probably since Jack, and he's only got 5 majors. It's just so hard to win them.
Yeah, it's so hard to win them right now, but he's making it look easy, kind of like Tiger did. It'd be hard for me if he only got to 10, I will say, to put him above Tiger. I think he's got to equal that mark or best him just because he was doing things. He was just at another level, like watching some of those events, and even Scheffler has some downsides. Tiger, there was barely any weakness, and he had to go through 3 stretches of his career where he essentially had to start from scratch and reinvent himself, whether it was off the course problems, whether it was back problems, whether it was surgeries, whether it was car accidents, all these different things that he was able to then bounce back from. Scheffler really hasn't had to deal with that sort of adversity yet. Like you look at someone like Will Zalatoris, who's undergoing his 3rd surgery. I saw this week. It stinks for Will. He's 28 years old. Scheffler's 28 years old, right? So it's tough, man. He's gotten a lot of good breaks and been very fortunate. And part of that is him taking good care of his body. Part of that is him making sure that his life off the course is in order, which I think is a huge benefit for Scottie, right? His belief and his faith, and golf doesn't define him. He really believes in all that stuff. And where you could see the pressure of winning that Masters heavy on the shoulders of Rory McIlroy a couple of months ago, Scottie doesn't have that weight. He's just, it's part of what he does. It's not who he is. And I think that allows him to be a little freer and have a better perspective on this,
his goal at the
on this run.
Olympics set him right. Like every one of those guys wrote on there to win. Scheffler put to have fun. And I mean, to me, that's so much about his character and what makes him great. All right, Muirfield Village. Have either of you guys played this golf course?
No.
Nope.
I would you say it's a top 10 course in the country? I think it is, right?
I would say it's a top 10 course on the PGA Tour.
Okay.
I don't think it's hard. I haven't played a lot of courses, so it's hard for me to rate them all, but I think it's I don't know if I'd put it in the top 10 of all courses in the country. It's definitely one of the premier and historic stops on the PGA Tour, and typically rewards itself with a good winner, a quality tournament, a challenging test, and gets one of the best fields every year.
Yeah, it's Jack's place. I mean, this is the 50th anniversary, right? Because I got some conflicting information there. I saw somewhere it was the 49th, somewhere saying it's the 50th. I believe this is the 50th anniversary of this event. Scheffler obviously won last year. Not easy to repeat, something I was surprised to see. I believe Tiger's three-peat is the only back-to-back winner in the history of the event, which again, just, Tiger is Tiger. This is a major championship venue in so many ways. The maybe one exception is the really wide fairways. One of the more wide fairways on tour, but because of that unbelievable rough that's going to be 4 to 5 inches probably by the end of the week, this is one of the toughest. It was the 4th hardest venue on tour last year. I think it was 5th the year before that. I mean, it is a track, and since they've made that renovation in 2020, which really only lengthened it like 100 yards, and they obviously redid some green complexes, we've seen the scores really held in check. I mean, going all the way back to like 2011, I believe there's only been 2 people that have gotten 16 under or lower at this event.
Right.
Another one of these courses, a ton of long irons into it. 51% of approaches are coming from 175 plus. Joe, kind of what were you looking into this week when you think of Muirfield Village?
Yeah, you hit on a lot of points. You did your research there. You're right. It's gotten significantly harder since the renovation. I don't know if it's so much the lengthening it. I think it's the way that they reshaped and contoured many of the greens, playing with the angles, right? You mentioned fairways aren't necessarily hard to hit, but if you miss them, it is one of the harshest penalties for a missed fairway from a strokes game perspective on the PGA Tour. You got to be in the short grass. The other weird kind of anomaly that I've always found here is there's only 4 holes that play under par. It's the 4 par 5s. You have to score there, but it's a little bit different in terms of par 5 scoring that we see on most PGA Tour courses, because it's often not the best move to try to go for it in 2, which it is almost everywhere else. You look at the guys who have scored really well on par 5s here over the years. Denny McCarthy did it really well. Colin Morikawa does it really well. Sepp Straka, Shane Lowry. These are the type of guys that score really well on the par 5s because they're willing to get to that 180 yard, 75 yard range, and they're deadly. And you can make birdies just as easily from that range. There's just a lot of risk involved in going for it from 275 yards away from the green, where it's really hard to pay it off with a good look at eagle. But a lot of times that risk in playing with the water, short-siding yourself to a place that's really impossible to get up and down, just isn't worth the reward. I think it's one of the reasons, and Rory was really critical of it, the renovation in this aspect. I think it's one of the reasons he probably is skipping this week.
Because I was wondering, the media thing, was that a shot at the PGA the week before, you think? Because it was leaked that, obviously he failed. I felt like that he was sending a statement.
I don't think it was a shot at the PGA. The PGA didn't leak it. It was one of the people in the media center.
Okay.
But I don't like how he handled that. This is weird for me for him to skip this event, which he's played every year, I think at least since 2018, looking at my numbers here. He has a very good relationship with Jack Nicklaus, talked openly about how they had this, big meeting, and Jack kind of walked him through how to play and how to change the way he thought about Augusta National before he won the Masters. And then to skip his event, 6 weeks later, something's going on. I don't want to speculate on the air, but it just seems like it's very strange where the guy was on top of the world. The guy was ready to become the face of golf once again, the most marketable figure. Everyone felt good for Rory McIlroy 6 weeks ago. And now everyone doesn't quite know what to think. He's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths of how he's handled things the last couple of weeks. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but something's not adding up.
Ryan, is he about to go full Darth Vader and join the Live Tour? The latest guy that won a major and then say, okay, now I'm good.
No, honestly, I think what it is the fact that he finally got the career Grand Slam. The relief that comes off your shoulders, off your mind, off your body. Maybe he just needed some time. Obviously, he played in the PGA Championship, but I don't think any of us will ever experience what that relief will feel like and maybe in some shape or form in our lives, depending on what's going on. But I really just think he's just like, whew, all right, I did it. Let me relax a little bit. Let me not go get my ass kicked at Muirfield and get ready for that U.S. Open in a couple of weeks. I don't.
It's like
That's
a
just
dog
my
chasing
opinion.
his tail and they finally
Yeah.
catch it, or
Yeah,
the car. Yeah.
yeah, he puts too hard and it ends up backfiring. But yeah, I think he's just like, all right, and it's. I thought it was weird too for him to skip Jack's place because he has played in it in so many times, and previous course history is a huge thing for me for who I'm picking this week, just because this golf course is so difficult around the green complexes. There's really no room for error. You can short side yourself so easily, and it's just an arduous task. And I don't know, maybe he just is taking a little breather.
Yeah, I kept it really simple, to be honest, for you know DFS and my betting card, in the sense that I'm looking for guys that are really good tee to green right now.
Yeah.
They score well on par fives, uh, putt and chip well on fast and firm uh, bent greens, and I kind of leaned a little bit more into driving distance than I thought I was going to. But I mean, it's 7,500 yards. Like, these courses are so ridiculously long at this point, and I know that you got to get in the fairway, because again, it's, even though they're wide fairways, you miss, like, good luck.
Yeah.
But it's just such a huge advantage. And I think that if you're driving it relatively well, um, you're going to be able to hit these fairways. And then obviously I want more distance. I did look at guys that are, playing well coming into this, particularly for DFS DraftKings, as we can kind of, get into that. Because I mean, at this point, it's literally death, taxes, and playing Scottie Scheffler in cash. I'm gonna do it week in and week out. I saw it last week. He was, I think, 53% owned, but I do nothing but single entries. I do nothing but double ups. I don't mess with the playing the lottery big fields. I don't have the cash to do 150 entries, which I feel like that's the only way you can compete in those things. And in that sense, I would rather just take Scheffler and hope that I can beat the rest of the field with the other guys in my lineup. And especially at this venue where it's like first, third, third, his last three starts, you go, okay, what do you want? You want somebody who drives it well. Okay, there's Scheffler. You want somebody that's an elite long iron player, best long iron player in the game.
Yep.
And you want somebody who plays well on firm and fast greens. Well, I mean, the dude owns Augusta National, which that's about as firm and fast greens as there is anywhere on the planet. So I can't go away from him this week. That means that obviously I'm kind of fading a lot of the other guys in that 9-10K range, but I'm okay with it when you look at like the values that you got in the low 8K range, in the 7K range, and even below 7K.
Yeah.
Ryan, you kind of agree, or you Scheffler bust and then filling it in, or what was your strategy this week?
I'm actually going without Scheffler. I don't know. I always something about spending that much in DK on my number one guy, just I don't know, just kind of gets under my skin. So I was actually going to roll with a Cantley or an Adberg or an Oberg, excuse me, or a Sepp Straka, just to give me some more room. And like you said, there's, I mean, even in the under 8K range, Rye, Adam Scott, who's played this tournament a million times, Brian Harmon, who is as accurate as can be, and a great long iron player, and then your boy Keith, Stefan Jager, is having a great season. I think he's poised to play well in this tournament. And you got some great under 7Ks if you go with the Scheffler strategy. I mean, Justin Rose, how many times has he played the Memorial? Bizian Hoot, or however you pronounce his name, he's 6,900 as well. And then Sahith Theegala is also 6,900. So
I'm rubbing off on you, Ryan. You're
I
starting
know.
to butcher
I know.
pronunciations.
Well, I
which
never
is
knew how
a
to
sad
pronounce that
day.
one in the first place, so I'd have to listen to the announcers on that one.
Joe, you're the tie-breaking vote. Are you Scheffler or not in like cash games this week?
In cash games, I think you have to. My problem is I'm going to have a hard time not playing Colin Morikawa, or at least having 5 to 10% more than I think people are going to have. I think he's going to be roughly, I have him right around like, let's call it 22% owned. I want to be in the 30s on Morikawa. And the thing is I have him the second ranked player in the field by my stat model and my numbers. And it's hard for me to justify going from number 1 to number 2 when on number 2 you save $3,400, right? So is there a world where I think you can stack both of them? Yeah, I think you can. I think you could get real contrarian and play like some 6K duds in there, and you hope that these two guys are the two dueling it out. I think Scheffler's likely to win. You hope Morikawa cashes you a second or third, and you get a couple other guys in. You know, it's the cuts lines, it's a signature event, so more guys are going to make it. You can feel a little bit better about taking a 6,300 Cam Davis or something. I really like Bud Cauley this week. Is playing awesome.
Playing
6,800.
Yeah.
So there are guys down there. Ryan Fox, I think, is always an intriguing option for me with high-end upside there at 6,500. So you can get weird. I think for me, though, if I had to make one lineup, I would probably just go Morikawa. That way I could be a little bit more balanced in the middle. But he's got to make it into my lineup this week if I had to pick one, because I think that he's just such a substantial discount. And I think there's a world where he's closer than that pricing would give you in terms of his chances to win.
Yeah, I like that. I again, though, I do love some of the value in that 8K range. I know you mentioned Sepp Straka, Ryan. I think people are like fading him because he's won twice. I think that's actually
a
the
positive
argument
in my
for
mind.
like to me, it's the opposite, that maybe this guy is figuring it out. I mean, he's first in par 5 scoring, so that's obviously huge. He's literally one of the best iron players on the planet. And the thing for him has always been how good is he on and around the greens. That's vastly improved this season, and that's why he's been in the winner's circle twice. Siwoo Kim's another guy, 8,300, who I think it's 18th or better every year since they made the change or renovated the course in 2020. He's obviously playing very well again right now. We saw him make a hole-in-one on a 250-yard par 3. I can't even get driver to that pin, and this dude's making a hole-in-one on it. These guys are good. And then the other guy that I really like that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, and there's two of them right in that 7K range, is Sam Burns and JJ Spawn. Now, obviously, with Burns, the iron play has been an issue, and it's probably going to be an issue this week, but he's so good with the putter. I think he's first right now in strokes gained putting. If the scores, we have another week where, 8 to 10 under wins. If he just has a good iron week, I think he can really contend. And if he has an okay iron week, I think that his putter can keep him in the mix to where at 7,800, you can definitely justify him. And then Spawn against 7,500, he just fits so much of what you're looking for here. Like, good iron player. He can drive it straight. And he's another guy that's in really good form. And I think both of those guys are probably going to be fairly low owned when you look at the guys that are just a little bit more expensive to them, or even, a little cheaper. So I love those guys. I completely agree with you on the Fox and Cauley play. Those are the two guys in the 6K range that I have in the most lineups. How do you guys feel about Eric Cole this week, 6,600? Is this course too long for him? I know he's done decent in his 2 starts here, but sometimes I think that if a course is a certain length, he just doesn't really have the firepower to truly contend.
I think just kind of the candle has kind of burned out a little bit on Eric Cole. He was running much better heading into this event the previous 2 years.
Yeah.
Not a great course fit. He was able to overcome that because he was in much better form those previous 2 years. Now, there have been glimpses of that returning, but from a consistency standpoint, I'm probably just looking elsewhere.
Ryan?
Not in DK, but DraftKings has got him plus 250, or not DraftKings, excuse me, Hard Rock has got him plus 250 to top 20. So that's where I'm going to live with Eric Cole. I think he can play well enough to at least finish in the top 20 on the smaller field.
Well, that's a perfect transition, Ryan. Why don't we get into
There you go.
some of our bets this week? Assuming that since you guys were selling Scheffler in the DFS, obviously you're not betting him. Again, I am not either. I put in my betting cheat sheet on Fantasy Six Pack that, look, I bet him last week because I had 5 out of the last, 9 winners. And when you get on a heater, you got a little bankroll. Yeah, take your shots. I'm not going to get in the habit of doing that. Even with somebody as great as Scottie Scheffler, it's a bummer. Instead, I kind of pounded that 40 to 50 range. But Joe, I'm assuming, right, you have Colin on your card if you like him that much for DFS.
I actually took Colin in the without Scheffler market because he basically went from 16 to 1 to 14 to 1. So the way that my weird braid works and mathing isn't always correct. But I was looking at 16 to 1 outright, and then DraftKings had 14 to 1 without Scheffler. I'm like, okay, so you're giving me like what, a 10% discount that I take off the top of my winnings. But you're also telling me by your sportsbook odds that you think the probability of Scheffler winning is like 30%, right? If he's 3 to 1, so you're going to remove him from the field, can kind of go there. So that's the only one I bet in the without Scheffler market. And then beyond that, in the following range, I don't know why I did this, and you guys can rip on me if you want, but I took Tommy Fleetwood at 28 to 1. I just feel like we've seen the breakthroughs here. Maybe it's his time. It's been so incredibly solid for so long. He's just knocking on the door over and over again. And my hope is that one day somebody will answer that knock for Tommy Fleetwood. Really, really solid around the green right now. I have him the second best in the field in chipping. The ball striking is always elite. You just got to hope you get a decent putting week. And he's got to clutch up at some point. But look, we've seen breakthroughs here. This was where Bryson's breakthrough was. This is where Hovland's breakthrough was. This is where Cantlay broke through. This is one of the big ones John Rahm knocked off early in his career. It's been that spot of a pivotal tournament for guys who are searching for that first big win. So maybe that's his week. And then just a little further down from that, I've been all over Daniel Berger all year. The numbers don't lie. The guy from tee to green has been outstanding, and he's been getting kind of crushed with the putter. He's gained 3 in a row putting at Memorial. It's been a little while, but he T5 before he dealt with the injury here. I just really trust guys who are – you're not going to show up to Muirfield Village and find it if you're not hitting it well. Like, one of the reasons I don't like someone like Ludwig Oberg this week is Ludwig's really struggling with his irons. So this isn't the type of course that you go to and can walk onto the first tee with a lot of confidence if your iron play is not sharp. Berger has that. He's been as solid as anybody off the tee and on approach. So keep dangling that carrot at 40 to 1, and I'll keep taking it.
Yeah, he's on my betting card as well. Again, I love that 40 range. I have Straka and Berger. I don't really understand the disrespect to Straka because, again, outside of Scheffler and Rory, he's the only other guy on the tour with multiple wins, and you can still get him at 40 to 1 in a limited field, which I did.
Ben Griffin, multiple wins. If we're counting Zurich?
That's right. I'm sorry. The team. You're
1.5. We'll give him 1.5.
I'll give him 2. He earned it. Don't forget that this is not technically a no-cut event. It's one of those weird ones where anybody within 10 strokes makes the weekend. So be sure to, especially for the DK and DFS lineups, to remember that. But I'm right there with you with Berger. My sucker bet's probably Fitzpatrick 50 to 1. He's just got so much success here. Some of the stuff is starting to come around. And again, he seems to play, almost these like US Open type venues really well, which is, I think definitely qualifies as. And then Novak is the other guy I got at 75-1. He's top 10 in par 5 scoring. He's 30th, strokes gained tee to green right now. I really like the fact that he doesn't three-putt a lot. He's 13th in three-putt avoidance, which that's a big deal when you get on really fast and big greens like this. He's 21st in scrambling, and you want to talk about a guy that is like banging on the door right now. It's him. He's got to feel confident, and I feel like you're getting real value getting him at 75-1 with the way he's played, now going on about 6 to 8 weeks. Ryan, give me some of your outright guys.
75-1 is wild for Novak. Hard Rock's got him at 50-1. I would jump all over that.
Yep, that's on DK.
Yeah, nice. It's not going to be legal here ever in Florida because Hard Rock's got the monopoly until 2059, I believe. But anyway, definitely staying away from Scottie Scheffler. Like, it's too big of a gamble for me to put more money on somebody that, will he win? Maybe, but these other guys got a shot just as much, and you're getting so much more value. So as long as you're trying to be smart with your money, I do like in the lower range. I do like Justin Thomas and Patrick Cantlay. Hard Rock's got him at 16-1 for JT and 21 for Cantlay. I mean, I think Cantlay's due for. He's been playing some really good golf, and just when I think of a golf course like the Memorial, I think of a guy like Patrick Cantlay. So definitely like him in this one, as well as some of those lower odd ranges. But getting up to those, what you guys were just talking about, the guy I've been talking about him for a few weeks too, and he's on the cusp. He's like what you were talking about with Fleetwood. Tony Finau would be 40-1 for me. And then the captain himself, Keegs, I like him at 40-1 as well. Cousin Russell's right there at 40-1. There's a lot of guys in that 40-1 range. I mean, I don't think you guys mentioned old Denny McCarthy, but he's right there in that same range for me too. And then of course my guy Sepp Straka. I'm gonna bet him as much as I can because he really helped me out when you guys were talking about building up that bank. He certainly helped me do that. So
go Dogs.
That one. Yeah, there you go. If you just bet Georgia alum, you'd be looking.
It's been a good year.
Yeah,
Harmon, Henley. It's been a good year.
I
will say Keegan's playing really well. My concern is I was kind of shocked. His record at this venue has been not very good, especially since they've done the renovation. Joe, what do you feel about JT? Like, are we close to getting back to the old JT? Because I know like the metrics, at least ball striking, are basically back. Or do you think that he's gonna get back to kind of the heights he was at 3-4 years ago, I guess now?
I think he can peak at any time. Where I struggle with Justin Thomas is there's still levels of inconsistency there.
Yeah, either here or there for sure.
The highs are really, really good. He leads the PGA Tour in birdies per round this year. He leads the PGA Tour in birdie or better percentage. He's one of the best wedge players on earth. But yeah, just look at the players. Like anyone who can come out and break the course record and then shoot like 80 the next day. It was like a 18 or 19 stroke swing. That's kind of a microcosm for a lot of the issues that Justin Thomas deals with. He's going to have, if he plays all 4 rounds, he's going to have a day where he shoots 66 or 67, which is really, really good at Muirfield Village. But he's got to take that round when he doesn't have his best stuff, right? And he can't shoot 5 over. He's got to he's got to find a way to grind that out to an even par or a 1 over round and save himself 4 strokes. And ultimately, I think it's less about his game, because I think his game is really tight right now, and it's more about decision making and like taking on too much risk and consequence. And it's part of what makes him great, but he feels like he can pull off every shot. And sometimes you look at the best players, you look at Scottie Scheffler, you look at Tiger Woods, they miss in the right spot. They always play smart and very conservative. And that's how you win a lot of golf tournaments over a long period of time. And it's something he's kind of struggled with.
Well, like we were talking about earlier with the par 5s, like JT's not a guy that's going to lay up to 110, 100 yards. He's going to go for it every time. And at this golf course, that's typically not the best strategy. So hopefully hopefully he can play maybe a little smarter, get his caddy to kick him in the butt a couple times. Hey, just take the bad error out of play, because
Yeah.
that could be the difference between winning and not.
Especially with his wedge game, which again
Yeah.
is like so frustrating. I always think back to Zach Johnson winning. I know it was a cold weather Masters, but
Yeah.
like it was started when
Laid
he
up on
did.
every par
Yeah,
five.
he didn't go for any of those. Which it's a shame that part of the game is sort of being driven out of it.
No pun
Uh,
intended.
and I hope I hope that there's going to be a resurgence maybe when they get some of this equipment ball stuff under control. Which
Remember, you got the ball rollback coming here in a few
yeah.
years, so who
Yep.
knows? Who knows what will happen?
I miss the different kinds of players than just a bomb and gouge. All right, some prop bets. I really like the top 10 and top 20 value because again, uh, 72 players, right? Like this is not a full field. Collie, who we talked about, I've got him both to top 10 and top 20 at plus 550 and plus 220. I think both of those are really good value for a guy who's finished 6 or better in 4 of his last 6 events. And he actually had some success at this event, at this venue, even after the remodel. I think he finished in the like 26 or something in 2020. And then I really like Fox. I like what you said there. I have him again at plus 700 to top 10, plus 275 to top 20. He's got, uber linked. We know that, so that's not going to be an issue. But he's 18th on approaches at 200 plus yards, so he's a really good iron player. And another guy that doesn't three putt a lot, 15th in three putt avoidance, which I did look at that. Especially if a guy maybe was not great at bogey avoidance, but had a high green and regulation percentage, hoping he can take some of that. He's top 50 on tour in par 5 scoring, 3rd in bounce back, 24th in birdie or better. So I think that there's some value there. And then again, Stefan Yager, I talked about it, plus 250. My only concern with him is it's shocking how bad he is now at playing the par 5s in comparison to what he was earlier in his career. He's 107th right now on tour in par 5 scoring for a guy with his length. And then even kind of more shockingly, a guy that is putting and chipping and like so good around the greens. Like he's improved that part of his game. I don't know what the disconnect is because he's playing par 4s really well, par 3s pretty well. And then again, to see the par 5s with a guy that hits it as far as he does, I don't know what is going on there. But I do think, again, on a course like this where it's so important to putt well and, get it up and down, I think that he can do enough to where you're getting plus 250. I like those odds. Joe, you got any prop bets you want to kind of single out?
Yeah, so I took Bud Cauley in the top 20 market. In terms of the top 10s, I basically just stacked my 2 outrights. So it was Fleetwood at plus 280, and I think Berger was 3-1. So hoping that if neither of those obviously hit in an outright market, if I hit one out of the 2 of those, I'm still in the black in terms of the 2 top 10 bets. So trying to get one of them across the finish line there. And then in terms of a matchup that I took, and I'm looking now, it looks like the line, I got a good price on it, I guess, on Monday. But I heard you mention Matt Fitzpatrick earlier. I faded him in a head-to-head with Denny McCarthy. McCarthy was minus 120 yesterday. It looks like that's up to minus 140 now from what I'm seeing. But I just love the way that Denny's striking it right now. He's hitting his irons really good, which is always the part of his game that he struggles with. I thought I had the massive whale outright ticket on him a few years ago when he lost in the playoff. I've had Denny on the show, actually, on Preferred Lines before.
Oh, cool.
And he's a great guy. He loves hard golf courses and told me that Muirfield Village is one of his favorite stops on the PGA Tour. So this aligns with a lot of the things that he likes to see from a golf course. He's such a good scrambler. Does he always play well every week? No, but a T8 at the PGA Championship, I believe, was his best finish to date in a major. So some confidence coming into this week. Has made a ton of cuts in a row, just in really solid form. And Fitzpatrick, while he finished T8 at the PGA as well, a season marred by much more inconsistency, at least early on. So I'm kind of taking the upside on Denny. Both of them have played pretty well here before.
Again, Denny too to me is maybe the best putting stroke
Yeah,
on
best
the
putter in
tour.
the
I
world.
could watch that guy, dude, roll it all day long. As somebody who, in order to play well these days, I've got to roll the rock well. It is.
Yeah.
It's a thing of beauty. Ryan, you got any props you want to hit?
Yeah, so I got 4 top 5s that I was really liking this week. Victor Hovland, which I don't think we've mentioned his name yet. He's slowly getting into form. He was playing pretty crappy last year, but seems to be on the up and up this year. Plus 575, the top 5, followed by Hideki Matsuyama, who is a past champion at Muirfield.
Yeah, it is a really
Correct.
weird field in the sense of what is it? It's only like I think 3 champions are in this field because you got
Yeah.
like 5 guys from Live, guys
Yep.
retired, Tiger. Like it's crazy.
And I really put a premium on past success at this golf course. So 6-1 to top 5 for Hideki seemed like some great value for me. Joe, you mentioned earlier Shane Lowry. He's plus 650 to top 5 on Hard Rock. His game fits the mold. And then, of course, my guy, the Austrian himself, Sepp Straka, plus 750 to top 5.
Waka.
Yep. So I really like that grouping of guys in the top 5 range. And then I've got several in the top 20. Brian Harmon giving me 2-1 top 20. Come on. That seems like easy money. It probably won't be because I said that. Stefan Yager plus 250. Eric Cole, who I mentioned before, plus 250. And then just kind of a shot. Maybe he'll play good. Maybe he won't. Don't really care. But 5-1 for Matthew Pavone to top 20. His stats don't correlate to him playing well at this course at all. But that's the reason why I think he'll make the top 20.
The Frenchman.
Why not? Why not? And because Jay, Pavone in that one tournament, he came out of nowhere, and ever since then, I've got to include him in there.
That's amazing. I do want to say Berger actually was another guy that was on my betting card this week at 6-1 to top 5 for all the reasons that Joe is getting into. I just one of the most consistent players on tour right now. And again, smaller field. There's no Rory. I think that's some pretty good odds. All right, before we let you get out of here, Joe, we have this year started, again, keeping a list of the worst golfer habits because we all have been there. You get either paired with somebody, it can even be one of your buddies, like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. I have a buddy who is awful about the timing that he puts his clubs back in his bag. Like it seems like it's always at the top of your swing. He's either messing, like trying to get an iron out or whatever, to the point where for a while I thought it was on purpose. And I'm like, no, he's just oblivious, which is even worse. We've had some golf cart rules. We've had the handicap. You have both obviously the sandbagger, but I think it's just as bad. The pride handicappers, right? That you get paired with them and they're supposedly at 4 and they can't break 90. What is like something that just drives you crazy on a golf course? And we'll just add it to the list.
Okay. These are things when I'm playing, right? Not watching golf.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. All right. So a couple honorable mention nominees here that are just coming to my head. Guy that has too much shit in the cart. Are we okay to curse on here? Guy
of course.
Too much stuff and starts to come over to your side where like your phone, your stuff's getting covered up. He's got waters. He's got cigar lighters. He's just got too much stuff. Also honorable mention is guy that like starts up a story right when he's on the tee box.
Oh God.
AKA Keith's dad.
Turn around, it's his turn to hit, and it's a 60-second story, and you've got to listen to it because he's on the box, but everyone just wants him to shut up and hit.
Yep, that's my father.
the worst thing for me by far, and I don't know how exactly to phrase this, but it's like sad golfer guy.
Oh, yes. Party
and
pooper. Yes.
And just ruins, he's having a bad day. It's hard. Look, we all get frustrated playing golf. It drives me nuts. I'm competitive too. But don't be sad guy that like ruins the round for everyone else and no one wants to play with you again. And then he's having a great time. He's joyous. He's talkative when he's playing well, but he has a couple bad holes and he brings down the whole group with him. He's getting left off the text thread the following week when we're setting up tee times. That's the worst.
He's out. Yeah.
That's
a great one, Joe. That's fantastic because nobody likes that guy because he brings everybody down.
Well, and I think we can all agree that no matter, and I used to, say this all the time when I was a teaching professional, that your attitude is so important for golf.
Yes.
Like
It's everything.
so important. And I even see it with the pros. That's where I'm like, I can't believe a mental coach or something. Like John Rahm is a prime example. I remember early John Rahm, right, was like a powder keg, just
God.
waiting to go off at all times.
Yeah.
And then it was once he kind of got a lot of that under control, miraculously became the golfer that we all thought he would be. And there's another guy on the European side who still hasn't figured out, and it's mini John Rahm, Tyrell Hatton, who he would be so good if he could just get out of his own way, but he can't. Like, that's who he is. But that is amazing because that is so true. Same thing for like the angry guy where you're like, worried to say or, do anything.
Nah, that's when you got to poke the bear there.
Yeah.
My thing too is like I'm kind of in a group that plays, and we got a little cash game on the weekends. But a lot of these guys that I play with are like 4 or 5 times a week golfers, right? I'm a once a week guy. If I'm out there on a Saturday, I want to have a great day, right? I finally got a little break from home and the kids and laundry and doing dishes, and it's a beautiful day. And I want to, even if I'm not playing well, I want to take my 5 hours to relax and enjoy myself and have a good time. And the guys who are like out there 5 days a week and they're having a bad day and they don't care because they can just come back tomorrow and play better. It bothers me and it irks me a little bit because you're bringing my time down, and I want to enjoy myself.
That's such good stuff. All right, real quickly before we get out of here, Joe, please. Again, remind everyone about the Preferred Lines podcast and anything else that you got going on right now.
Awesome. Yeah. Best place to support and follow is just at Tour Picks. It's there. Follow the Twitter account. I post all my picks for free there every single week. I've written stuff over at rotoballer.com. And of course, the Preferred Lines podcast, I run live each and every Monday night previewing the upcoming tournament. Check it out on YouTube. Hopefully you like it. If you do, give it a subscribe, give it a like. We'd love to have you as part of the crew over there. Got a nice little group over there who seems to enjoy the show weekly. So hopefully, like yourself, hopefully we just try to do a couple of things right. Keep it light, keep it easy, but be informative at the same time and not take ourselves too seriously and try to enjoy the whole thing along the way.
Ryan, what we got going on the radio show this week?
Well, tomorrow we got you, so that means 2 segments.
I mean, that's obviously the best part of the week. So what else you got going on?
We're living in the playoffs, the NHL playoffs. More importantly, the college baseball regionals, which start this Friday. Shout out to my Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, remnants of 2016. We're hosting a regional out there in Conway, and of course the Auburn Tigers, number 4 national seed, hosting one up there on the Plains. But yeah, we're just shooting it, all week long, having fun, having a good time. And that's the Inside Drive on ESPN Northwest Florida. We have a free mobile app, or you can follow us on social media to watch all our shows live or after the fact. Check out
what day is Doc A on now?
He's on Tuesdays.
Oh, I missed him today. I'll have to go back and listen.
I was actually texting with him. He's currently in a $400 Golden Tee game instead of watching his Indiana Pacers. But he's a self-proclaimed Golden Tee hack. So he loves it. And, he's great. Thank you for that connection, by the way.
Man,
he's
been
fantastic.
The best.
He is so good. I can't wait to meet him
good.
in person. And he's going through some stuff, too. So we've kind of bonded and related on that as well. So, but just a good guy. Yeah, he's on at Tuesdays, which would be 12:20 your time, 11:20 here in the Central Time Zone.
Because I haven't, I want to hear what Doc A's thoughts are on the NBA playoffs. So I'll go back and listen to that. And, life's all about connections and stuff. So I'm glad to see that it's worked out. I randomly met him at a Braves game. So, life is a funny thing. But please be sure to check out all of my stuff on fantasy6pack.net. We have the betting card cheat sheet, DFS cheat sheet. Thanks to Joe Bond. I got my own model this year. Don't ask me how they set it up. All I put in is percentages for the categories, and they spit it out for me because I have no idea how that shit works. Again, I'm a country bumpkin, so but I appreciate Joe setting that up for me. The preview article is also out for it. Obviously, you can check me and Ryan on Tuesday nights. And then in the off season, we are doing some fantasy football stuff. On Fridays, I go on Optimus Fantasy with both Tank Polvic. And we do Q&As. And then obviously, we're not that far around the corner where DFS football will get back going. Obviously, me and Joe Matz will be back on Fantasy Six Pack every week, doing what we do, hopefully providing winners. I can't wait. And also can't wait to have my heart broken by the Atlanta Falcons again, because that is a ritual that just never ends. But Joe, again, really appreciate you taking time to come on with us tonight. It was very nice to meet you in person. Like I said, I've been a big fan of your work for several years. You keep doing you, man. And we will see you guys next Tuesday. Take care.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.